Good morning, beloved ones. Turn to someone and tell them, I am free, I am unlimited. I am free, I am unlimited. I am free, I am unlimited. That's right, I'm free, I am unlimited. So, while your heart is open, listen to these words. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Of course, these words are from the Declaration of Independence, which we celebrated yesterday with probably some barbecue and fireworks, family, friends, all of that. It's a good thing. Wikipedia said this about the Declaration of Independence, and these words in particular. It says that this has been one of the best known sentences in the English language. They said that certainly it's the most potent and consequential words in American history. This passage came to represent a moral standard to which the United States should strive. And so as I was thinking about that statement from Wikipedia and reading these words over and holding them in my heart, I thought that the more I hear it and the more I read it and the more I feel these words, that I believe that they're not just making a political statement or even a social statement, based on social science of how people come together and gather. That it's not even a statement about the economic fairness of people having a right to life and liberty and the pursuit of happiness. I think that it is a spiritual statement. That somehow when I read these words, I see and feel a spiritual imperative, a spiritual directive, a spiritual guideline for all of us. And I was saying, I wonder if we could somehow see it as that, as a spiritual directive. Would that help us to actually live up to the truth found within those words? If we were to see it as some kind of spiritual directive from the divine, from God, that somehow we would then be able to live up to those words. It starts off, we hold these truths to be self-evident. And I love that. I said, yeah, self-evident. What they're saying right off the bat is that everyone should be able to understand or to see or to be very clear about these truths. Because they are what? They're self-evident. They're self-evident. Now, we all know truth when we hear it, do we not? Doesn't matter the source from whence it comes. When something is true, it has a ring to it that actually stirs the soul. It stirs something in your consciousness. When we know that the aspect of truth will carry some type of universal energy, universal thought. It'll also carry something that is unchanging, some unchanging aspect of something that is higher than ourselves. So it's not our truth. We don't have anything to do with it. But it is a truth that comes from a higher source, a higher understanding. And that truth carries the spark of divinity, the spark of the divine, which is within every soul, which in every person carries a measure of the truth within them. We all have our truth, but there is the truth. There are truth principles. There's a spiritual energy and essence that comes from God that resides within every soul. And when we hear and see anything that speaks to that truth, it rings true in our being. Something in us says, ooh, this is true, this is right, this is good. You see, we hold these truths to be self-evident, meaning that somehow or another it should make sense to every soul. We hold these truths to be self-evident. And I'm thinking, okay, so if it should be clear to every soul, then what is it exactly? What is this truth that is self-evident? Well, thank God the writers go on to say, well, it's that all men in the generic sense, which means women, children as well, all men are created equal. Now, I love it because it speaks to creation, and creation has nothing to do with politics, right? Creation isn't a political statement. It is something that is ordained and comes from God, the creator, the source of all things good. It speaks to that all men are created. It speaks to the nature of all creation, including us, including man, which is or who is equal under God. We're all equal under God. Then the next sentence states, I love it, it says, and that they are endowed, meaning they are given certain unalienable rights. And when I was driving, I said, I need to look up the word. You know, I'm a wordsmith, so I like to look up words. So I said, Mom, go Google in the phone. You know, we're driving. I said, look up unalienable. I didn't do that one. And so I'm going to tell you, I'm going to get my phone out here. Uh-oh. I did have Siri, but see, when you want something, something else is coming up, so I have to go back up to Google. Here it is. So this is a definition, several. Unalienable, and then there's also inalienable. But we're talking about unalienable. That's what the Declaration states. It says not to be separated, given away, or taken away. And then it says inalienable. All of them. So claim unalienable dignity as individuals. Another definition says, in this question, unalienable is an adjective that means incapable of being repudiated or transferred to another. What is unalienable cannot be taken away or denied. Of course, it's most famous and uses for the Declaration of Independence, which says people have unalienable rights of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. So we have something that cannot be separated. I like to say that which is created cannot be separated from the Creator. And every living being that is on the planet, person, has been created by God. God the good, the omnipotent, the omnipresent, right? So that means that everything that God is contained within us on some level, that we are all equal to God and under God. And when I say equal to God, I don't mean that we are transcendent and above and beyond God, but that we are one with the divine, and that there is no one and nothing that can separate that truth from who we are as people, who we are as divine creations. That means everybody. It matters not your culture, your ethnicity, your race, your religion, none of that. Because none of us created ourselves but God. So this is a powerful statement. These are rights that every person has. Rights that speak to what make for a spirit-filled life, a good life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Now that's some powerful stuff. That sentence is so powerful because it's clear and it's forthright, but it's powerful because it came from people who were seeking all of those things. People who had suffered persecution, religious intolerance, and a hardship in living. A lot of the colonists came because some wanted to be free to practice their religion, but some wanted a new vista, a new way to live. So it was about economics. Some to escape persecution. And so these are the folks who wrote this statement. And so I'm thinking, why is it then that some 200 plus years later, we are still struggling to live up to those words and their moral and political and spiritual directive? 200 years later, it's 235 years exactly, that we're still trying to manifest, demonstrate, and express these words. See, I love the way, they wrote the words, but they were truly inspired because they had to come from something higher than themselves. See, they lasted this long because they're still true today as they were, 235 years ago. Even if we are not manifesting them, they're still true. Because is there not a soul here who does not desire life, to live, and who does not desire liberty, to live free, and who does not desire to pursue happiness? God-ordained ideas, divine ideas that were expressed, and yet we are still trying to live up to them. And I believe it's because of a few things. One being is that these words are not held in our psyche. They're not really held in our consciousness. We haven't really heard them enough. You hear them probably every 4th of July, right? So we don't hear them enough. We don't hold them in consciousness enough. They're not really a part of our belief system. We might believe it, but they're not a part of our belief system. So they're not a part of our everyday, ordinary understanding about our creation and the creation of every other living being. Do you remember, some of you are old enough to remember this, I don't know if they still do this, when you were a child, how we had to say the Pledge of Allegiance in school? Did you remember that? Every single morning. And I still know the words because, I had to recite them. And I'm thinking, well, what if every child had to repeat and memorize this opening statement? What if they had to repeat this statement of the Declaration of Independence? What if they had to declare it, to declare these truths daily? I think that we would have a different expression of life, right? It would go a long way towards helping us to really become a true reflection of these words as a nation and as a people. It's very powerful. Spirit told me at the last minute to have you all declare it. So I'm going to do this, and I want you to declare it with me. It says, we hold these truths to be self-evident. We hold these truths to be self-evident. That all men are created equal. That they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights. That among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Isn't that powerful? Powerful words that, if we could remember for everyone, would take us to a different level of consciousness, I believe. Because yet there are still something else is needed for us. We haven't, not only, don't have an understanding or a belief system, or haven't really incorporated these words into our being and into our culture, into our society, into our consciousness as a nation. But I also believe that we really haven't been taught to honor our diversity, or the diverse nation to which we have become. Because think of this. Aside from the Native Americans who were here before the colonists arrived, right? The colonists were a pretty homogeneous group. They came from England over here. They were a homogeneous group with little diversity until Later on, of course, others who were also seeking life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness began to show up in America. They too said, we're going to come. We want to come into the land that speaks to life and liberty and the pursuit of happiness. And so others come. Now, this could be when things go awry a little bit, right? Because others come that look a little different, come from a different culture, different background, and some even came unwillingly, did not want to come, but found themselves on these shores anyway. And so we have all of this in the mix, and we then become a diverse nation. Now, diversity brings a richness that shouldn't be overlooked. And this is what Angel Coda Williams said this. He said, we have the power to choose not to let our beautiful diversity be a source of division. See, diversity and division are two different things. But if we can't handle one, we will have the other. Right? If you cannot handle diversity, you will probably have division. He said, we have the power to choose not to let our beautiful diversity be a source of division amongst us. We have to see ourselves as having enormous strength because of the wealth of our resources. That wealth lies in our differences. See, it's when we can see that everyone has value, everyone has something to bring to the table, that diversity adds to the richness and the fullness of our lives. Then we're on to something. Lord Devlin said, diversity of opinion is the essence of freedom. Now, I know that that's hard for some of us to really get to, because we don't necessarily like diversity of opinion. But that's what it says. It is the essence of freedom. So if we're going to be able to capitalize on our forefathers' notion and this declaration of independence and of freedom, then we're going to have to be able to honor and celebrate and promote diversity as a good thing. See, I don't think we've done a good job of that in this country. But when we begin to do that, things will change. FDR said, it is a good thing to demand liberty for ourselves and for those who agree with us. But it is a better thing and a rarer thing to give liberty to others who do not agree with us. This is a powerful thing. It's like Jesus said, well, it's easy to be loving and kind to your friends and your family, right? But can you do it with your enemies? That's the harder task. You see, we're all on a path, all of us. This is a challenge because we are all walking on our particular path, a path that is designed, whether it's a path of a nation or a country or a culture or a society or individually, we are all walking our path for our soul's growth and for our own understanding and our beliefs and our hearts. The problem comes in when we mistakenly believe that our path, our understanding, our belief is the only way to go, right? Then we have some challenge when we think that it's the only perspective to have, the only path to take. And when we come from that position, then we want to convince, convert, contain, constrain anyone and everyone who isn't walking the same path that we are on. It's part of human nature that we have to overcome, right? It's my way or the highway. My religion or no religion at all. My God or no God at all. See, and so we as a species on the planet have to uncover something deeper than that. We have to grow out of that limited way of thinking. I'm free and I'm unlimited. We sometimes get comfortable in our limitations. And I want to be limited. I'm going to be in the box, so you're going to be in the box too. You're going to be in the box that I put you in. Right? Someone said this, just because someone is walking a different road doesn't mean that they're lost. right? So somebody said, well, you're going the wrong way. No, I'm going my way. I go my way, you go your way. Because, the visual that I love is that there's a wheel, and there's so many spokes on the wheel, and each of those spokes lead to the hub, and the hub is God, right? Now, what happens if a wheel would say, well, look, my spoke is the one that's the one? What kind of wheel would you have if you only had one spoke? There's strength, right? The wheel becomes stronger when there's lots of spokes to attach to the hub. So there are many, many different paths. You see, what happens is we have to be able to give these same rights that we would demand for ourselves. We must also be willing to give them to others. Because everybody wants to be free. Everybody wants to be free. The phrase that I like to say is that I want to be free as God created me, right? With my path and my understanding. And it doesn't mean if I honor my path that I have to dishonor yours. It doesn't mean that if I walk my path that somehow I'm saying your path is wrong. Until we can see the truth that there are many paths, one God, one source, many paths, many channels, many vessels, many vehicles, many paths to take. See, once we get to that, then this desire to be free enables us all to move and progress. Either we're going to get this or we're going to stop the movement altogether. We're going to just kill each other and, bomb each other up and destroy the planet, and that'll be that. Until we understand that everything wants to live, everything wants to be free. It's encoded, this desire for internal freedom and expression and beingness is encoded in our DNA. And when we deny ourselves and others, right, what is instinctive in our spirit and in our minds and hearts and bodies, then we find ourselves out of alignment with the natural order of things. See, we are out of alignment, not just here in this country, but in other countries too. The world is out of alignment because we haven't understood this internal sense of oneness. We haven't tapped into our DNA code that says we are all created by God, the good, the omnipotent. So we need a little tolerance, we need a little willingness, we need a little freedom, we need a little understanding. All those things are key. But we've got to somehow start with ourselves. It all begins with, this is what we say in truth, right? Everything begins with me. See, I can't try to free you unless I'm free too. I got to start with myself. So the question becomes, how do we handle the many aspects of our own beingness, of our own selves, of our own differences and quirks and, shortcomings and idiosyncrasies? How do we handle that? Each one of you here is different from the other. Each one of you comes with your own stuff, your own strengths and joys and wonderful, and your own weaknesses and blind spots, everybody. So how do we handle that? Because if we cannot tolerate our own imperfection, our own humanity, how then can we tolerate others who differ from us? There's a powerful quote that Thomas A Kempis said. He said, if you cannot mold yourself entirely as you would wish, how can you expect other people to be entirely to your liking? Right? In other words, if you can't even fix yourself and make yourself perfect, how is anybody else going to show up to your liking? It's very powerful. See, when we can express love and understanding and forgiveness and acceptance of ourselves first, it becomes easier to offer it to others. Freedom is an internal experience, it's an internal state of consciousness, a state of being. And it's something that we are. We don't even have to try to get it, we are it. So I want you to ask yourself, do you feel free or do you feel imprisoned? Are you being right now all that God created you to be? Are you maximizing your life? Are you living to your fullest and highest potential? Are you living freely and fully? And what is it that would constitute your pursuit of happiness? Because remember, happiness too is an inside job. So I'm not telling you to go out here and look and find out what's going to make you happy out here. It's all about in here. Freedom is within, happiness is within, joy is within, peace is within, the fruit of the Spirit is within you. But we have to look and see what's happening inside of ourselves. A friend just told me this story about a painter who had painted a picture of this beautiful woman, and she was all wrapped up in chains. And she had a big old lock. The chains were locked around her. But in her hand, she also had a key. And that's how the painting is. So you can look at that painting and then say, the question could be, did she use that key to unlock the chains around her? Or has she so comfortable being in prison that she forgot to use the key? Is she comfortable in being, right? We're having chains to bind her. The song we said, I am free, I am limited, there are no chains that bind me. Has she forgotten that? You see, we hold the key, friends, to our own freedom. Sometimes we look for other people to make us free and to give us certain things. You are already free. We have to understand we hold that key. So do we use it to free ourselves? Or are we comfortable in our own state of confinement? Or do we feel victimized? Or do we feel that we have given control over our lives to someone else and we're seeking permission for them to be free? Have we forgotten who we are as creations of God? We hold the key. And when you can unlock the key to the source of true freedom, which is what? God. When you unlock that key to the source of freedom, which is God and all things spiritual, then your consciousness begins to expand. And you begin to have no boundaries, no limitations, nothing to hold you back. You will undoubtedly begin to feel your divine connection to all life. Your sense of life and liberty and the pursuit of happiness will naturally be extended not just to you and your world, but to everything and everyone around you. There will be true freedom. So I have an assignment for you for this week. You know, every now and then I give you some homework. And so for your assignment this week, I want you to do some self-examination. I want some things to become self-evident for you. I want these truths to become self-evident, but I also want you to be able to see where it is in your life that you are imprisoned. And then I want you to free yourself. I want you to free yourself. So you need to ask, are you being burdened by fear? I want you to free yourself with some pain. I want you to use the key of faith, right, to free yourself from pain. Or are you unburdened with worry? Then I want you to free yourself, to use that key of prayer and faith to free yourself from worry. Bible says, you know, if you pray, don't worry, and if you worry, don't pray. So look and see, is that going on, and free yourself from that. Are you carrying insecurities? You need to free yourself with the truth that you are divine creation of the Most High God, empowered and endowed with everything that you need to be successful. Free yourself from that. What is it that is holding you back? Because the time is now for us to be free. Free as God created us to be. So you need to declare your own independence. Here's to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Namaste and blessings. Namaste and blessings. Blessings. Thank you.